not have a normal intro because I was really too busy smoothing other things over to get it done. So, Ori? Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the following program. I am your host, Joe Neerman, aka Good Lawgic. I want to start with this. One thing I want to start with. So I think I don't know how this ended up in my feed. I'm not sure how this must be fairly old. Just because it's old doesn't mean it doesn't make it any less timely. This is what Trump shared out. And I don't know how anyone could disagree with this messaging, but somehow this will be called racist. Just because everything is.
There can be no coexistence with this violence. There can be sadly squandered.
Sorry.
There can be no coexistence with this violence. There can be no tolerating it, no accepting it, no excusing it, and no ignoring it. Every time a terrorist murders an innocent person and falsely invokes the name of God, it should be an insult to every person of faith.
It is.
Terrorists do not worship God. They worship death. If we do not act against this organized...
It is, if you think about it, because, if we were talking about Muslim terrorists, the ones who most frequently invoke God when they commit their acts of terrorism, you're basically saying that this is what God wants. I mean, it's an affront to God. And it's not like they're worshiping a different God than you or me.
Terror, then we know what will happen and what will be the end result. Terrorism's devastation of life will continue to spread. Peaceful societies will become engulfed by violence, and the futures of many generations will be sadly squandered. If we do not stand in uniform condemnation of this killing, then not only will we be judged by our people, not only will we be judged by history, but we will be judged by God.
There you go. That's one candidate on one side of the aisle. That's one of them. Let me share with you the other one. Just, equal time. It's important to have equal time. So let me share with you the other one.
Oh, man, you got chicken fingers. You got all the...
I can't believe they put this out. You got chicken fingers. You got the whole deal. He's sitting here just literally pandering to black people. I guess it's an election year. Time to pander to the black vote. Let's all whip out the fried chicken, sit around the table. This is a day in the life of Joe Biden, sitting around the table with a black family, eating fried chicken. Unbelievable. You got the whole deal. Here you go. This is Democrat solutions right here. Let's not talk about terrorism. Let's not talk about the southern border. Let's not talk about any of that stuff. Let's talk about fried chicken. That's really what matters to me. Of course, there's nothing wrong with what he said. Every human should agree with what he said. Everyone who's rational should say that. Oh, don't worry, we're gonna get to the hot sauce.
Oh, man, you got chicken fingers. You got all the... I want the root of making sure I had the hamburger.
Because I'm white. Why don't you finish the sentence up with that? Because I'm white.
So tell me...
Look, you see that look from the son? He's like, yeah, white boy eating the hamburger. White boy white boy's going for the hamburger. That's what the look the kid's given.
So tell me about you guys. What you doing these days?
Want to
Let's get a shot of him pouring on his ketchup there.
share about your passion of sports?
Let's have a completely not at all planned conversation here. Just a natural, normal, this is the sort of thing that the president just happened to stop by, and we're going to have not at all a pre-planned conversation with the president about how recent policies have helped them out.
I'm playing AAU basketball right now.
Are you really? Are you guard?
Yes, sir.
Now, what grade are you in?
7th grade.
7th grade.
Right now, I'm just doing basketball, point guard on the JV team for my school.
How about in school? How y'all doing in school? You should tell the president about the school.
Favorite thing about it is the business academy I'm in. We get to like.
Let's talk about the business academy. Oh, let's talk about how he's helping educate the black youth today. He's the one doing it.
Travel, so we've been to like NC State, Wake Tech, and
You're kidding me.
we went to this small dry cleaning business, and it's cool. It's a great experience.
Old.
I'm impressed. Is that a new program at the school?
Yes, sir, it is. It just started.
Is that a new program in school? You wouldn't be asking that question if the answer was no. It's been there for 5 years, ever since they implemented under Trump. You know that just a couple of years ago. I don't know, a couple of years could be when not that schools have anything to do like with federal, not that they should.
a couple of years ago.
You know how much this guy loves you. You just feel it, can't you?
Yes, sir.
Your dad jumped in front of a bull for you.
But would he sniff him? Would he sniff him?
By the way, we dads are hard to raise. Once you're a teenager, we're hard to raise. So you gotta be patient with us, you know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
A little patient.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Little patient. Yeah, he's so charming. He's so charming. So those are your two choices right there. Trump and Biden. Those are your two current choices, at least. At least that's what they want us to believe. Fried chicken is not just a black thing in the South. Everyone down here knows it's funeral food. All right. I believe you. I believe you. We don't know if he's in the South. We don't know where he is. I doubt they drove him more than like 10 minutes from the White House. When this impeachment fails, the House needs to make DHS funding contingent on Mayorkas' resignation. You see, I like how you're thinking, and obviously the impeachment is going to fail, and we are going to talk about the impeachment. All impeachments fail in the Senate. And the Senate is where impeachments go to die. And I'm going to talk a little bit about whether or not this should die. Because despite the fact that I think Mayorkas is a terrible human being, let's talk about whether or not his particular conduct merits impeachment. And that's not going to be a defense of him or the policies that he's helping implement. But we're going to talk about the concept of following orders and whether impeachment is the right way to handle someone who's following orders. Now, I understand that following orders as a defense has a very negative connotation to it. And so you wouldn't think someone like me would ever be saying that the concept of following orders is something that should ever be defensible, right? Because that is something that we heard at the end after World War II. A lot of people defending their actions with "We were just following orders, papers." That's what everyone was saying then, and that excuse didn't wash back then. But it's a different question here. Where's the lady, other man, or I don't know. I don't know what the story is with that family. Certainly not looking to inspect it. That entire thing was obviously so stupidly staged and just so cringe. How they specifically had the black folks eating fried chicken. That was just because, and you know what? But it's not just cringe. It's a very fair reflection as to how the Democratic Party looks at black people, as if there's some sort of monolith. And until they prove otherwise, they are. Sorry. If you're black, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Until you prove otherwise, and from the perspective of politics, you are. And I know that's something that sounds, offensive. I'm not saying you individually are, but I'm saying is your community is. Until you prove that, hey, if we see something that if we can be alerted and basically vote based on what the politicians are actually doing, rather than just, oh, okay, it's time for me to vote blue. If you're a monolith, I'm sorry. I mean, and I know that can be offensive, but that's how the Democratic Party looks at you. That's how they look at you, and they've been proven right for decades. For decades, my whole life, a long time, they've been proven right. So the only reason it comes out here, so why pander at all? It's to remind you to come out and vote, and not have, and also look, the shift in the numbers is very important. Very, very important. Like even like a 5% shift would be a very dramatic thing, which could drown the Democratic Party. I'm not saying this is a matter of passing judgment. I'm not passing judgment. I'm facing reality. I'm facing facts. I'm just dealing with reality. That is the reality. And you individually, I'm sure if you're watching this show, you're likely someone who breaks from that trend. If you're a black person who's watching this show, I'm sure that you probably break from that trend. Just saying, greater community. And you can throw the same critique back at me with respect to liberalism of Jews, irreligious Jews. So basically making their vote useless. The best you can ever hope for is that they don't come out and vote. But with mail-in voting, we know that that's like not even a matter of coming out. It's a matter of someone in your household will fill it in for you. Loving the opening so far, Trump's true fighter against terrorism, defending the military. Nikki Haley's husband will confirm. Lower East Side Shtetl, real conservative. Oh, I see what's happening here. I see what's happening here. How do you feel, Lower East Side Shtetl, real conservative? How do you feel about pandering to the black vote? How do you feel about it? I missed you, brother. All right, so we need to talk about Mayorkas. We need to talk a little bit about Mayorkas before we do. You know what? Let's just go right into it. Let's just do it. I was hesitant. I was gonna go a different direction for a second, but I can say that for later. A little side thing for later. All right, let's check out before we even start assessing. In case you've been under a rock for the last, we're taking a nap for the last 5 hours. Alejandro Mayorkas has been impeached, becoming the first person in human history who's not a president to be impeached, which is noteworthy indeed. First cabinet member to be impeached. So let's talk about the Secretary of Homeland Security and this impeachment. And we're going to start by actually pulling up the articles of impeachment so we can see exactly what he was impeached for, what they voted on. That's where we start. So, amendment to the nature of substitute to House Resolution 863 offered by Mr. Green of Tennessee. Strike all after resolving clause and insert the following. That Alejandro Nicholas Mayorkas, Secretary of Homeland Security of the United States of America, is impeached for high crimes and misdemeanors. And that the following articles of impeachment be exhibited to the United States Senate. Articles of impeachment exhibited by the House of Representatives of the United States of America in the name of itself and the people of the United States of America against Alejandro N. Mayorkas, Secretary of Homeland Security of the United States of America, in maintenance and support of its impeachment against him for high crimes and misdemeanors. Constitution provides that the House... How many pages is this stupid thing? Sorry, not stupid. Wait, I think it's only 3 pages, right? Oh, wow. It's much longer than that. Much longer than that. Oh, my God. I just pulled this up like right beforehand. Oh, my God. This is really long. This is really freaking long. All right. Willful and systemic refusal to comply with the law. The Constitution provides that the House of Representatives shall have the sole power of impeachment. We got that. We all know about that. In his conduct while Secretary of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, in violation of his oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, to bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and well and faithfully discharge duties of his office, has willfully and systemically refused to comply with federal immigration laws. But was he really refusing to comply with federal immigration laws, or was he doing what was directed by the president or by whoever, let's face it, the puppet masters of the president? In other words, his failure, and that's the questions we really need to ask ourselves. Throughout his tenure as Secretary of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas has repeatedly violated laws enacted by Congress regarding immigration and border security, in large part because of his unlawful conduct. Millions of aliens have illegally entered the United States on an annual basis, with many unlawfully remaining in the United States. And it's really terrifying I can't overstate this enough. It's really terrifying just to think if only 1% of them have nefarious intent, which, let's face it, when you have a group of 100 people, how often would you whittle that number down to, only 1 out of 100 of them have nefarious intent? But even 1% of them, we were talking about tens of thousands of people who aim to do harm to this country. That's who have just walked right across the border, just walked right across. It's real. I mean, that's why people call it an invasion. And I don't think that's hyperbole to call it an invasion. All right, you want to get technical with me? Is that what this is about? Is this a gotcha, Joe? Secretary of War. I don't remember that one. You could, although the name rings a bell. And if the name rings a bell, you could be correct. Thank you for calling that to my attention. Mea culpa. I was mistaken earlier when I said he was the first non-president to be impeached. Thank you, Grifty. His refusal to obey the law is not only an offense against separation of powers in the Constitution of the United States, it also threatens our national security and has had a dire impact on communities across the country. And Alejandro Mayorkas willfully refused to comply with detention mandates set forth in Section 235B, 1B2, listing off his failings. Willfully refused to comply with detention set forth in Section 235 1B3, requiring that an alien who's placed into expedited removal proceedings determined not to have a credible fear of persecution shall be detained until removed, meaning you can't just release him into the wild and say, run, Forrest, run. I guess it wouldn't be Forrest, right? It would be run, Felipe. Run, Felipe, run. I don't know. What would they say? What do you think they say at the border when they set them free into America? Do you think that's what they're screaming? Run, Felipe, run! I don't know. This is why I need to visit the border. Number 4, he willfully refused to comply with detention mandates set forth in Section 236C of such act, requiring that a criminal alien who's inadmissible or deportable on certain criminal and terrorism-related grounds shall be taken into custody when the alien is released from law enforcement custody. Instead of complying with this requirement, he issued guidelines for the enforcement of civil immigration laws, like literally just willfully flouting congressional laws here, which instructs Department of Homeland Security officials that the fact that an individual is a removable non-citizen should not alone be the basis of enforcement action against them, and the DHS personnel should not rely on the facts of conviction alone, even with respect to aliens, blah, blah, blah. We don't care about that. Number 5, that Mayorkas willfully refused to comply with detention mandates set forth in Section 241A2, requiring that an alien ordered removed shall be detained during the removal period. Instead, he issued guidelines for the enforcement of civil immigration laws, instructing DHS officials that the fact an individual is a removable non-citizen should not alone be the basis of enforcement action against them. Like, that's completely just flouting federal law. So yeah, he has flouted federal law. He has. But do any of us actually think that he was acting of his own accord? Alejandro and Mayorkas willfully exceeded his parole authority set forth in Section 212D that permits parole to be granted only on a case-by-case basis, temporarily, and for urgent humanitarian reasons or significant public benefit. And on and on. So, yeah, this goes on for, Lord knows, 28 pages? How many pages are you? 20 pages here, right? So I'm not going to go through the rest of it, but you get the overall gist of it. He's the Secretary of Homeland Security, and he willfully ignored federal law and implemented policies that were designed to flout federal law. Now he's been impeached. It was a very, very close vote. In case you're wondering how the vote went, here we go. It actually closed out at 214, 213. And you might be saying to yourself, wait a minute, aren't there more than 214 Republicans? Like, why is it only 214? Oh, because 3 Republicans decided to vote against. Specifically, the House passed a resolution Tuesday night to impeach Alejandro Mayorkas of Homeland Security. The vote was 214, 213, with all but 3 present Republicans voting yes. Mayorkas is the first sitting cabinet secretary to be indicted on the House. That's where I got this from, Grifty. That's where I walked. This is where I walked. This is where I trusted the New York Times. I don't understand. I don't understand. Did they not know about Belknap? Don't you know about Belknap? You're a terrible source of information, New York Times. This is the sort of thing that I would think you would get right. If there's any time I'm going to trust the New York Times, it's on something like this. And then I have Grifty reminding me about Secretary of War William Belknap. Well, that was my source. So I knew I saw it somewhere. Republicans have produced no evidence that Mr. Mayorkas committed a crime or acts of corruption. Really? 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 What about ignoring the law? They accuse him of willfully refusing to enforce border laws and breaching the public trust. So, first question is, since impeachment is about high crimes and misdemeanors, so is his failure to enforce the law a high crime and misdemeanor? They talk about the first attempt, which failed because they were short someone. They waited Steve Scalise to come back. And who are the 3 Republicans who voted against impeachment? Ken Buck, Yamach Shimo, Mike Gallagher from Wisconsin, and Tom McClintock. 2 people. So Ken Buck has already said that he's out and he's done. And here's 2 more people who basically say, hey, please put my head on a chopping block and make sure I get primaried out because I don't really like having a job as a member of the House. Now, you can call that right or wrong, but that's likely reality. And I'll tell you this much. I want to get your thoughts on this. And this is something that I think is really interesting because I've talked in the past about this conceptually. We saw how the Democrats really abused the entire impeachment process with their desperation to try and find any way to go after Trump. And we're all very, very familiar with that. I don't need to review the history there. But my question is, and then I question, and this is a common question, should using their tactics against them be something that we employ if it's something that's gross? And I had a whole back and forth about this philosophically. I want to say a week or 2 ago on the air here. I was like going back and forth. And I think I remember that I actually had an epiphany on the air while I was talking to you. It wasn't something I had planned earlier. This was not like, it was not a situation like, Biden sitting down for one of his Tuesday night dinners with a black family. This was something that actually was genuinely off the cuff. And I think what I came to was a conclusion that it makes sense to engage in tactics, mirror their tactics, borrow and embrace their tactics, if in fact it's not a breach of foundational values, which are what distinguish us from the craziness of the Democrats. Which is why now we have to sort of, now assuming that you're willing to come along for the ride with me on that philosophy, that as long as you, because the question that I asked and I was very bothered by was the notion that, hey, what is the point? What is the freaking point to fighting fire with fire if at the end of the day we're going to end up changing ourselves into something that's as detestable as that which we are fighting against? It doesn't make any sense at all. Now, a lot of people are like, well, I just want to win. And I get that feeling. I understand that. Trust me. Trust me. Okay. Been an avid sports fan. I understand the concept of just wanting to win. I get that. But at the end of the day, if we win and, it's scorched earth method where there's literally not scorched earth, but it's sort of like nuclear radiated for the next 1,000 years type of earth method. So what exactly did we win? And that's why I came to a place where I was like, okay, I can go along with embracing their tactics as long as it's not, I'm not reducing myself into ignoring foundational values. So now, and the foundational values, which are what differentiate us from the left. Well, what are those foundational values in this context? Are there foundational values which are being impinged by saying, hey, they're doing this stupid impeachment stuff, so we're going to find a way to impeach Mayorkas? Because I do think that we're walking a weird line here to refer to this, even though I think he's a terrible person. He's a terrible person, and that he was overseeing the purposeful allowance of the purposeful strategy or policy of decimating the southern border into non-existence, which I definitely think was purposeful. I am fairly positive in my heart of hearts that was not Mayorkas's idea, and that the powers that be, and we have evidence to this, because basically they were sort of promising that in certain circumstances, if you pass the southern border bill, we'll be able to close the border. Well, why can't you employ that without passing that by just following the law? Oh. So it's sort of an admission that, hey, our objective has been to basically vitiate any distinction as to where Mexico ends and America starts. So that being the case, we know this was a policy. This was a Democrat strategy. This was intentional. This is not an accident. This is not something like an oversight. This is not like, whoops, how did that happen? This was purposeful, and there's no logical defense to say otherwise. And that's revealed by the southern border proposal, because that's a claim that, hey, we are going to shut it down if you follow this thing at a certain stages and we reach certain plateaus, or certain parts will be able to close down. Why are you not closing down those parts right now? So my point is this, that Mayorkas's policies, which are designed to allow as many people as possible to walk across our border with little more than a smile and a sticker that says "Have a nice day" with their name on it, that they get to decide what name they're going to write on themselves, because God forbid we should actually know who's coming in here. So that all of this, what I'm saying is, was this a policy? Yes. Was this Mayorkas's policy? Almost certainly not. If Mayorkas had not taken the role, any other person had been stuffed into that role, they certainly, or almost certainly, would have done the same thing, because they would have been following the orders of the powers that be, likely not President Biden himself, but the circle of people who keep him propped up and basically tug on the string so that he waves to the crowd anytime someone walks by and says, "Hey, Joe." And then he just sort of like waves like Bernie. And I don't mean Bernie Sanders, I mean Weekend at Bernie, and says, "Hi, how are you?" So that being the case, we can sort of basically recognize that he's been a figurehead. That's what he's been, and employing policies that the left wants. Is that a high crime and misdemeanor? No. Doesn't seem to me. I'm telling you right now, it doesn't seem like it's a high crime misdemeanor. And I know that in the past, a lot of people who lost World War II used to use the defense of following orders. The reason that we spit on that response of "I was just following orders" is because sometimes orders are so clearly an offense against humanity itself. That for you to try and hide behind the fact someone told me to do it is kind of stupid. But that's where we're talking about an offense against humanity itself. as opposed to failure to do the job the way you're actually supposed to do your job, which is not really an offense against humanity. That's really, if anything, an offense against your country, given the nature of the role that he was instituted to represent. So I think that this is a little bit of a closer sort of thing. We're following orders. I can understand some of you yelling at me and saying that's treasonous. You're allowing an invasion into our country. That's treasonous. I don't think he would ever be convicted of treason. I don't think he would. I think colloquially, I can go along with saying that's treasonous. And we should be very clear about this, since I am an attorney, or at least I play one on TV. So I can go along with colloquially referring to his actions as being treasonous, while at the same time recognizing that from a legal perspective, it's almost certain that any charges of treason that were raised against him would be quickly dismissed. So, and when we're analyzing the impeachment clause, which says that someone will be impeached for high crimes and misdemeanors, you sort of, I would interpret that as actual crimes. And I've said as much. I said as much in the first two impeachments of Trump. So, where does that make me land on this whole thing at the end of the day? Am I happy he's impeached? Yeah, I think that's probably a good thing for the House to impeach him, because this is fighting fire with fire. Honestly, I think that the impeachment should have been of Biden himself. There's no reason that he couldn't be impeached for failing to put in someone who's going to handle this properly. That would have been ideal. That's what they should have done, if you ask me. For one reason or another, they set their targets on Mayorkas because he's more directly overseeing it. But if you ask me, they should have impeached Biden, knowing full well that the Senate will never convict him. But let him deal with it. Let him deal with it. And I think he's arguably more guilty of treason. This is his job. He's supposed to defend America. And he willfully abdicated that role. To me, that's treasonous. To me, that's something that is actually closer to treason, to the legal definition of treason, than actually what Mayorkas is doing. Mayorkas failing to do his job. And his job is to defend the southern border. At least part of his job is to defend the southern border. And he purposefully put in policies which were basically saying there is no southern border. So I can understand that, for one reason or another, you feel like this is more palatable or whatever. I'd be much happier with this impeachment articles. They're against Biden, even though I know that they're not going to, because that would be actually fighting fire with fire. You want to come up with your no crime type of impeachment thing to go after Trump? All right, so we'll throw a no crime at Biden. To me, that would make sense. I don't think that's offending. I don't think it's offending my foundational principles, because I don't look at the impeachment clause as something as part of our founding principles. Founding principles are more based on civil liberties. Founding principles are more about freedom, faith, responsibility. They're values. They're not a specific clause in the Constitution. They're constitutional values rather than the parameters. It's like, how do we do removal of a person? To me, that's what's foundational. So I would actually be okay with impeaching Biden. And I actually think there's a number of reasons beyond this on the border to impeach him. But that's my thought on that. Before I get to Super Chats, and I do want your thoughts back on this as well. I want to just sort of take a quick look ahead as to what we should expect from to happen. And I think this was a pretty nice breakdown by the New York Times as to the process, as to what we should anticipate will happen with Mayorkas. So Mayorkas was impeached. What happens next? First impeachment of a sitting cabinet member. See, sitting cabinet member. What's with Belknap? Was he not sitting at the time? Sets off a series of choreographed rituals that dates back to the impeachment of former President Johnson in 1868. Basically, there is the ceremonial procession where the House walks the impeachment papers over to the Senate. That's something that we saw Nancy Pelosi and all the House Democrats skipping towards the Senate, you might recall. Some of you might have forgotten, but that is what we did see, that whole excited skipping. We're going to the Senate with the impeachment articles. So yeah, there is that ceremonial thing, and then you're going to have a Senate trial. The Senate is going to set a schedule as to when the impeachment proceedings will happen. They should be overseen by Chief Justice John Roberts. Senate trial, House Speaker names impeachment managers from the chamber who will be tasked with arguing the case against the impeached officials serving as the prosecution team. And who are the impeachment managers? Who should we anticipate is going to be sitting there prosecuting him? In the case of Mayorkas, the impeachment articles also appoint 11 impeachment managers. They are Mark Green of Tennessee, chairman of Homeland Security Committee that drew up the charges. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, Andy Biggs. So I'm not a big fan of having Marjorie Taylor Greene on this. I don't think that she's effective or good in this role. Honestly, it kind of bothers me that she's on here. I know that she was a big champion of we have to impeach Mayorkas. We have to impeach Mayorkas. I don't think she's effective at convincing anybody who is educated. I think that she shoots herself in the foot a lot. So you're putting her in the role that she's gonna act like an attorney. I don't even understand what is she gonna what do you really think she's gonna add? Because I question what she's gonna be able to add to this impeachment team. Hopefully she speaks very little. Andy Biggs is not bad. I don't know much about Ben Klein. I don't think I do. Clay Higgins, Andrew Garbarino. I vaguely remember liking him. I don't know Michael Guest. Big fan of Harriet M. Hageman. I'm a huge fan of Harriet M. Hageman from Wyoming. That was such biggest upgrade in Republican history. Biggest upgrade of removing one person, replacing another. Liz Cheney to Hageman. It's like worst of the worst to one of the best. It's an amazing flip of that seat. Laura Lee of Florida, Michael McCall of Texas, and August Pfluger of Texas. I don't really know these other individuals very much about them at all. The Biden administration would have the right to have an agent or attorney appear to answer articles of impeachment against Mayorkas. That includes appointing House Democrats to serve on the defense team. Senators sit and they have to basically come to a 2/3 majority. And they take their vote, and there's zero chance that there'll be a conviction. Zero. So that's what we can expect when this Senate trial happens. I do anticipate that I will be live streaming that, assuming I don't have a conflict. But I would urge you to follow me at goodlogic.locals.com so you can get notifications of all my coverage of this impeachment trial, which I do expect to live stream right here on Rumble, right here on YouTube, likely even to you X folk. Why are you still on X? Like, you can't try YouTube or Rumble? Really? Just hit like, subscribe, do that whole stuff. All right. Karen Mannings. Chuck Schumer will throw this in the garbage bin right away. It's kind of useless. I don't think he has the right to do that. I don't think he has the ability to do that. Doesn't sound like a bad plan to me. If they have a hearing and he claims that he was just following orders, couldn't they just then turn around and use that as evidence for impeachment in Biden? And that's an interesting comment. I don't know if he'll say I was following orders. I don't know if he'll say it. But I do think that is an interesting comment. That, yeah, I don't think he's going to testify. I'd be shocked if he testifies. Shocked, I say, shocked! I really would be shocked. Because they know he'll be asked that question, were you following orders? But I'm telling you he was following orders. I do not expect the Democrats to say he was following orders because that would just be an attack on Biden. So I was talking more from a pragmatic, moral, philosophical type of thing rather than predicting the defense that we should anticipate, because I can promise you, and I'm glad you brought this up, I can almost promise you we will not hear the Democrats say he was following orders. We won't. Because exactly what you're pointing out here. It's great point, Matt, Zachary. First sitting is correct. Other resigned. Okay, fine. Digger 13, present down a right hand per always. Present down a right hand per always. Okay. Not sure what that means. As to Belknap 1876, it was under Grant's administration for criminally disregarding his duty as Secretary of War and baselessly prostituting his high office to his lust of private gain, acquitted by 1 vote. I should look into Belknap. Now I'm curious. Now I'm very curious. Y'all making me curious about Belknap. Gallagher just announced not seeking re-election. That is great. That is great. We'll see the same thing from McClintock also. We'll see the same thing from McClintock. This is a reference to the fact that over here in the vote that he was one of the 3 Republicans who voted no. Not seeking re-election. We know Ken Buckray said that he's not. And it'll be interesting to see if McClintock is done also. Yeah. Good riddance. Adios. Adios. Thank you, Kimmy. What are the recourses there besides impeachment? It seems that many elements in the executive branch have been at worst co-opted and at best are derelict. No, what I'm saying is go for the boss. Go for the boss. Go for the boss. That's what you do. Go for the boss. Go for Biden. There you go. And I get that human trafficking is a crime against humanity, and that's true. This is a fair point. This is a fair counterpoint that Kimmy's making here. It is. It's terrible, terrible abuse that a lot of people who are crossing the border are facing. I think I think people tend to not think of that. And I'm curious what you think about this. When we talk about human trafficking, I think that in the context of people coming across the border who end up becoming trafficked, I think Americans tend to have less sympathy for that victim of human trafficking than somebody just kidnapped and trafficked. Because we sort of feel as if you put yourself, and it could be, there's 2 reasons that there would be a emotional or intellectual distinction in the minds and hearts and minds of most Americans. Number 1, they're not American. Right? I mean, that's staring you in the face. Number 2, we sort of feel as if that person put themselves into harm's way by saying, I'm going to go across the border. I guess the third thing is that they're trying to sneak into our country. So that's 3 reasons that I think that when we hear about victims of human trafficking from those who are crossing the border, they're not at all the same as if we hear a story about some American girl who goes missing. It doesn't raise the same alarm bells for very many of us. I personally, I know I don't feel the same level of sympathy. And I sort of question why that is. And that's what I came up with, basically, those 3 reasons. We tend to care more about Americans. We feel like they put themselves in that position rather than someone just, picked up off the street. And we also tend to feel like they were trying to break in here. Like, how much sympathy am I supposed to have for that? So he wants to impeach both, I think. Well, that would be appropriate. And there's a lot more bases besides the southern border to impeach him. Honestly, what he's done in his personal life, to me, is easily impeachable. Impeach him as vice president. That's what I would say. Impeach him as vice president, based on the claim that you can go after someone long after they finish serving their term. His actions as vice president, what he did was so egregious, so utterly egregious as vice president. We've talked a lot about the whole situation in Ukraine. There was a thread that dropped today when we're talking about this issue as far as impeaching Biden. What I'm saying is his actions as vice president were so traitorous and looking out for his own self-interest that I think that is really genuinely the worst. It's literally, it's spelled out in the impeachment articles for treason, high crimes, misdemeanor. And I think it was treason. I do. In fact, I have over here transcripts from an interview with Rob Walker, a Biden family associate linked to the Biden's dealings with Chinese and Roman entities. Chinese and Romanian entities. And there was an interview with Rob Walker, which dropped today. And I was thinking about covering this. Now I'm sort of inspired to do this. We talk about the idea of impeaching Biden. We heard some Mayorkas was impeached today. Look at this. Look at this. These are just select excerpts from what Biden family associate told us about Biden's dealings in China and Romania. Everyone knows about Ukraine. We all heard about Hunter and Lutsenko and all the different things that happened with Shokin and all the different stuff there. That's the stuff that everyone knows about. But a lot of people don't know that Ukraine was just one example of where the Biden family, the Biden crime family, were peddling their influence. But they peddled it in Romania, they peddled it in China. Around the time, so here's some excerpts. There's not a lot of these. I think there's like 10 of these. But I actually was thinking about covering this tonight. And since we're talking about this impeachment, I think that it's a good idea for me to get to this. In fact, I'm going to put this aside and try to come back to this. I'm going to get to some of this. I'll get to the rest of the super chats, and then we'll cover this. If unconstitutional, you can ask SCOTUS to clear the record, correct? SCOTUS have the authority to do that? I can't imagine a scenario where that would actually happen. That's clearly not spelled out anywhere. I'm not sure what the remedy would be if unconstitutional. But it's also, I mean, in theory, he could seek relief from the Supreme Court and try and apply to have the Senate put it on hold on the grounds that it's unconstitutional, that he's not charged with a crime. That'd be an interesting thing. And we'd see if the court would take it up or not. Good luck with that. Tongue working better today, still fasting. So to answer your question on this, a lot of people got me very nervous about the idea of just like not eating at all. And I also felt like yesterday's show, I was a little bit low energy. And I don't think that's fair to you guys. Just because I'm worried about my waistline doesn't mean it's fair for me to put out anything that's less than good Lawgic quality. Accordingly, I did bend into my fast. If you're wondering what I've eaten in the last 48 hours, so far I've eaten 1 grapefruit, 1 tomato, 4 hard-boiled eggs. That's what I've eaten over the last 48 hours. So yes, I'm very, very hungry right now. But I basically, last night I had 3 hard-boiled eggs. Today after I went shoveling, because we had snow here. So after I went shoveling, I was like, I really need some protein right now. So I popped another egg, and then I had later on a tomato and a grapefruit. The grapefruit is something I've always eaten when I'm on diets, because I think grapefruits actually help eat away, actually help your diet progress. I'm a very big grapefruit fan. But that's all I've had so far. And I keep thinking about breaking it. I'm not going to kid you. I keep thinking about breaking it. I plan on holding off at least till tomorrow morning. So he could have resigned. He didn't have to follow orders, gone and worked in private sector. Yeah, he could have resigned. And if he had, there would have been someone else who was doing it. So there you go. But yeah, you're right. If he didn't want to face this disgrace. Jenny O, I'm going to hit you with the chauffeur for that because I appreciate you. Thank you so much for your support. You're awesome. So why is that not? Oh no, I'm having audio problems. Why didn't my chauffeur? Oh, I know what it is. Where are you? What is it? It's not Steam. No, it's not that. I know what it is. What is it called? What is it called? God. Yes, it's Elgato. That's what it is. Let's try now. There we go. Thank you. All right. Glad we cleared that up. Crime against humanity, aren't they all? No, not all of them. They're not all crime against humanity. There are 5 split delegation states. Democrats won't take the hit for him. If he's acquitted, it'll be Vichy GOP, not the Democrats. Oh, he's definitely going to be acquitted. He's definitely going to be acquitted. The basis that they'll use to acquit him is say that there's no crime here. That's what they're going to say. That's what they're going to say. So he's definitely going to be acquitted. We saw even 3 Republicans joined in. Every single Democrat voted against it. 100% he's going to be acquitted. I don't even know if he's going to get the what's it, 40, 48, 49 Republicans to go along with it. R's House majority now down to 1 since D1 Santos. See, R doesn't know how to win a war. Well, that's possible. Republicans don't know how. What would be Trump's linguistic kill shot for you? Sleepy logic, low energy, low energy Joe. It's low energy. It's low energy. Sleepy Joe. Oh, that's pretty funny. Speaking of this that Debbie brought up, that was another story I was planning on covering tonight. Let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at this. Yeah, it's not looking good. It's not looking good for. It's not looking good. All right. I'm getting pulled in 6 different directions. I knew this was going to happen tonight. There is an election that's going on right now. It's an election over New York's 3rd congressional district, the seat that was vacated when Santos was removed from the House. There was an election going on between Tom Suozzi and Mazi Pilip. And those of you who might be boo-hooing over Pilip's loss, I just wanted to give you a little perspective as to who she is, because that is an election that's ongoing right now. So I'm just gonna pause in my coverage here, since we're talking about how many members of the House are Democrat versus Republican. Check this out.
Tonight, it was no holds barred.
It's 4 days old. This was before the election.
For the candidates running for a seat representing New York's 3rd congressional district, either Democrat Tom Suozzi or Republican Mazi Pilip will replace disgraced and removed former Congressman George Santos. Their runoff election now just 5 days away. Long Island reporter Shantae Lands with tonight's debate.
Republican Mazi Pilip and Democrat Tom Suozzi attend a Long Island debate, both vying to fill disgraced ex-Congressman George Santos's vacant seat.
George Santos got elected by lying about his record. Ms. Pilip wants to get elected by lying about me.
Immediately, the gloves come off, sparring over the controversial migrant crisis.
And let's move on to another topic.
Let me just say, the idea that I caused this problem is absurd. This has been a problem for 35 years. You know what caused the problem? Is extremism.
No, you belong to that side of the party.
You see, she doesn't have the answers here. She seems to me to be very, very weak from what I've seen, and I'll comment on her responses here. Yeah, when he says that extremism, what he's talking about is the rejection of the Southern Border Bill. That's who you walk into slamming the Southern Border Bill. If you're a strong candidate, you know enough about Southern Border Bill that you can say it's not a border bill. It's not the defend the Southern Border Bill. It's destroy the Southern Border Bill. And you walk through all the points that I've covered here multiple times, which explain why that bill would have made it literally impossible for any president to shut down more than 40,000 illegal crossings a month. That's not a Southern protection. That's not a Southern border protection. That is Southern border destruction. That's what that bill was. That's how you respond, not with you caused the problem. I don't think Mazi has any of the answers, and I'm also not sure about her positions on things, some of which are very sus, as we're about to see.
Pilip, an Ethiopian Jew who lived and served in the military in Israel, lays out her agenda to address the migrant crisis.
Building the wall, increase more border control members, and on top of it, we have to make sure we need to be tight when it comes to asylum seeker.
and the candidates later contending over the SALT tax.
You increase taxes. Explain yourself. As a county executive, you increase taxes. The mayor of
I'll
Tampa,
explain myself.
you increase
Go ahead.
taxes.
Yeah,
So
Nassau County.
the possibility of you bringing SALT deduction here is absolutely zero. And I know when I'm going to go to Congress, I will bring SALT deduction back to New Yorkers.
No specifics.
But the biggest back and forth lasted for several minutes over abortion.
Are you saying that you're pro-choice? Are you pro-choice?
Now listen to her answer to this question here. This is the Republican. She's the Republican, the one in red, being asked, are you pro-choice? Listen to her answer.
Over abortion.
Are you saying that you're pro-choice? Are you pro-choice?
Every woman should have that right.
Well, that's about
to
What? 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 Let's do that the way Viva would.
Every woman should have that right.
What the hell? You're the Republican? You're the Republican candidate? No. No. No, you don't know how to answer an abortion question? Because if you're a federal candidate, if you're a candidate for federal government, you basically are best off in saying that has nothing to do with federal government. And it's an embarrassment that you would try to bring that in here. You put him on the defensive instead of she's on the defensive. And also that's a pro-choice answer right there. Every woman should have that right. That's a pro-choice answer. That's not pro-life.
It's about laws.
I'm not going to tell her what to do. And I made it so clear. It's so personal.
That means you're saying it's pro-choice. You're pro-choice.
To me.
So you're pro-choice.
She is.
Again, this is a personal choice.
Of course, it's a personal choice for people pro-choice. No one who's pro-choice says that we're gonna go turn into China and force women to be sterilized after they have a certain number of kids. That it's up to the government how many kids you have. No one's saying that. Not even the most craziest of pro-choice in America today, at least currently, they're not saying the government should have that choice. So you tell me. You tell me. That's Mazzy Pull-Up. That's Mazzy Pull-Up. I saw that and I was like, you know what? I don't care if she wins or not. I don't care if she loses. She wins, she loses. She's a rhino. She's useless. So that's your classic rhino. It's like I'm not even pretending I'm a Republican in my beliefs. That's pro-choice. Goodbye. Adios. And that's what the electorate seems to be saying to her. 85% of the votes are in. This is where it stands right now. Tom Suozzi, 83,000 to 70,000. So I don't think she's making up 13,000 votes over the last, what do we have left? It's 153,000 is 85% of the votes. So that means that there's probably like another 20,000 votes coming in. She's not getting 14,000 of them. So not getting 13,000 of them. So yeah. So I'm not looking at this as a terrible loss that we're not having Mazzy Pull-Up in there, because frankly, she's a waste of space as a Republican. Now, you might say, but wait, then we might lose control of the House. We're not losing control of the House this session. That's not happening. And honestly, that the fact that we can get an actual Republican into that seat, because I'll tell you, the area that they're fighting over the area they're fighting over, you might think, oh, it's New York, so it's going to be like, it's the Democrat will almost always win. It's weird that Santos won in the first place. No, this section of New York, when you're talking about Eastern Queens, Nassau, and parts of Suffolk. Does it go into Suffolk? This is not your hardcore liberal section at all. There are plenty of Republicans who live here. Plenty of Republicans. So this is a seat that Republicans can win. And I'd rather get a Republican candidate in there who's MAGA, not Mazzy Pull-Up. She's a waste. So all I need to hear is the answer to one question. Every woman should have that choice. Yeah, I'm not with you on that. Pam. Hey, Joe. You have to work these GP calories off. Its energy stores fat if not used twice around the block. GP calories? I'm not sure GP calories are. Yeah, like I said, I had the protein after I spent like 45 minutes shoveling. So tunnel boy. That's what Trump would call me. Look, he's tunnel boy Joe. He's every GOP that voted to oust Santos needs to go. Yeah, I agree with you on that. That was inexcusable. Yes, Philip was a weak choice, but we'd still be saying Speaker Johnson, not Speaker Jeffries. We're still saying that now. There's another what? This session, there's another 10 months. There's another 10 months to it. So, and elections are coming up in November. I'm not worrying about it. If there's no chance of success, why bother with it? It's just going to frustrate me. Oh, there is no chance of success. It shouldn't. I'm telling you that there's no chance of success, so you won't be frustrated. You can understand that this is a matter of sending a message to the Democrats. This is a matter of, it's also trying to rally the base of saying, yeah, we're going after the Democrats. That's what it is. Anyone who tells you otherwise is not just trying to sell you something, but doing a poor job of selling it. I found the best counter to Dobbs' question to most of these is to ask, should someone get a harsher penalty for homiciding a pregnant woman? Thoughts? Should someone get a harsher penalty for homiciding a pregnant woman? I'm not sure how that's so we have a harsher sentence for homiciding. So you're expecting that most people would say yes. This is what I'm taking from what you're saying here. And if you're saying yes, yeah, I don't know if people would be they don't see the backwardness. People of pro-choice don't see the backwardness of their position. I got into very big trouble with someone who was, I'm going to call him law tube adjacent. Not that there is such a thing as law tube. The law tube adjacent, not a lawyer. So when I came out after Dobbs, and when the day Dobbs came out like in the morning, and that day, it came on my birthday. Pretty sure it was my birthday. No, the day before my birthday. It was the day before my birthday. It was June 24th. I came out with a video where I basically explained that at the end of the day, every argument in favor of pro-choice, every single one, really boils down to the reason people want an abortion, because we're not talking about the health of the mother. We're talking about the health of the mother. Even most of the strongest pro-life people will say health of the mother comes first. So if we take out health in the mother situations, and I'll tell you this, when Roe was first written, all 50 states at that time had the most stringent of the 50 states had an exception, and the ones who were like most pro-life, most against abortions, every single one of them had an exception for the health of the mother and would allow abortion to protect the health of the mother, which to me is the most moral argument, most moral position out there, that there's no such thing as abortion unless you're trying to protect the health of the mother. To me, that is the most moral position. And the argument for pro-choice, and this is what I said that day, was, and at the end of the day, the reason you're pro-choice, the reason you want to get an abortion is because having a baby at certain stages in your life is very, 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 very inconvenient. Very inconvenient. That's what it is. That's all it is. It's very inconvenient. And that inconvenience, and when I say inconvenient, I don't mean like, now I have to drive somewhere. No, this is like one of the biggest inconveniences imaginable terribly, crazy level inconvenient. Crazy inconvenient. Inconvenient financially, inconvenient with your career, inconvenient with your personal life, inconvenient with the headaches and the late nights and the fevers and the feedings and the expense, all this stuff, inconvenient in a million different ways. Very crazy inconvenient for some women, especially single mothers. Very inconvenient. But it is inconvenience. That's what it is. It's just very inconvenient. So when it's very inconvenient, so that society has created justification where we say, oh, yeah, it's not really human, and do you really want to hit them with that massive inconvenience? And that's all it is. And when I said that after Dobbs came out, I had someone who literally said, I'm never talking to you again. Someone who was law tube adjacent. They clipped that. And that a section from like a 20-minute video, that section, me calling an inconvenience, and said, I'm never talking to you again. So I'm not going to call anyone out because it's like, all right, that's how you feel about it. So, the GP was, oops, twice around the block start. You'll be walking miles. Oh, that's what you're saying. Yeah. We'll see. Walking is so boring. New York is doing a mid-cycle redistricting. They'll draw that seat for an easy Democrat win. Maybe. It's possible. It's possible. All right. Should we see where our numbers are at right now? It's still the same. So update, refresh. Yeah, still 85% of the vote is what I got here. Like I said, if she loses, I really don't care. And in certain ways, I think it's a win for MAGA if she loses. Because if she wins, you're never going to primary her out. It's not going to happen. If she loses, she's gone. And hopefully the next candidate is someone who's not afraid to say, yeah, I'm pro-life. That's okay. Joe Fasty needs prayer and prep before taking on a 72-hour. Maybe start with 12-hour. It's funny you bring that up. Because someone tagged me with this. Now I got to find it. Someone tagged me with this after I mentioned last night that I was fasting. This will make you laugh. I'm gonna give you guys want a good laugh. This will make you laugh. Where are you? You have to go way down here to find it. Where are you? I woke up to being tagged in this. I was just laughing. And I meant to save it. Nope. 7 hours ago. I should have saved this. This is it. This is what. Somebody named Dan. They didn't wake up to it. I don't know. Following Pro, let this inspirational act get you through your 72-hour fast. I was recently reminded of this brave man who went on a hunger strike that lasted nearly 10 hours. Human spirit never fails to inspire. 10 hours. 10 hours. This was some politician who said, I'm going on. What was the reason for the hunger strike? Someone, I saw this. What was the reason for this? Texas Congressman Greg Kayser holds hunger and thirst strike to call for federal workplace heat standard. 10 hours. 10 hours. He skipped lunch. That's what happened. He literally said, I'm skipping lunch. That's what he did. 10-hour hunger strike. Good golly. Unbelievable. 10 hours. He fought his way through it. All right. Where was I? Covered this. Oh yeah. So I know I was talking about. I promised I was going to talk about this. The reasons to impeach Biden. And I was talking about his corruption. This is important. We got sidetracked, and I apologize for that. I got sidetracked here. There's a few bill payments that I had to take care of, but I promised I was gonna finish going through some of the select excerpts from the testimony of Rob Walker, who's a Biden associate, and I was explaining to you why it is that why Biden should be impeached. And I say, you all know about the Ukrainian corruption, and to me, influence peddling when he was vice president, is why he should be impeached today. And it's not that we're impeaching him from being president, we're impeaching him from being vice president, but the ramifications of that are you can no longer serve office and can't be president either. Around the time Hunter and Associates received a $3 million payment from a CEFC entity, it's a Chinese energy, Joe Biden attended a CEFC meeting at the Four Seasons in Washington, D.C. CEFC chairman Yi Jianming and other CEFC officials were in attendance. And here's where we go. Did Joe Biden ever attend any location? I'm not going to be able to make this bigger. Did Joe Biden ever attend any location? I'll do it this way because I want you to be able to see. Ever attend any location or meeting place where CFC officials were also there? Yes, the Four Seasons in a restaurant and private room. What officials were there? As best remember, I don't know if Zhang was there, but I believe Yi was there. I'm certain of it. Yi's chairman. Sorry, what was that? I'm certain Yi was there. So Yi Jianming is chairman of CFC, correct? Yes, he met with the chairman. And then again, was this before he received the $3 million from the CFC? This was likely. The meeting was likely before. In other words, send us $3 million. He got Joe Biden here. So for only time it happens, the only time Joe Biden shows up in a meeting, he gives a 10-minute presentation to the entire group, and a few days later, you get $3 million. He had discussions before with CFC, meaning James Giller had. But that is how it happened. Yes. So there you go. There's Joe Biden getting paid $3 million. Hunter Biden and his associates work with CFC and Chinese government-linked company began in February 2016 when Biden was vice president of the United States. However, Hunter Biden and his associates were not paid until after Biden left office. So it's fair to say that by February of 2016, you, Giller, and Hunter Biden had begun purchasing business with CFC. That's correct. What kind of work did you do for CFC leading up to that meeting? We introduced them to a bunch of potential projects. I think a lot of the projects were maybe in the documents. But you received no payment for any of that work. That's correct. Why are you not paid until after he leaves office? Why would you not get paid until after he leaves office? Rob Walker admitted Hunter Biden's last name would probably get people in the door, and had a letter he drafted CFC Director Zhang placed on Hunter Biden's letterhead because he was the son of the vice president at the time. Why would you have sent it from Hunter Biden's letterhead instead of from James Giller or you? Well, I think it's common. What's common with you is companies working with individuals abroad. Those individuals they're taken seriously unless they have a calling card. Like this is something that says they represent. So if you wouldn't, that's just normal customary business practice. And later on, well, I think in Zhang's eyes that it worked. I think in Zhang's eyes that I worked for Hunter and that James worked for us for Hunter. So that would have been, he is viewed as the principal's organization by Zhang. And that's because of his last name. I can't answer for Zhang, but sure, he had an interesting last name. That would probably get people in the door. Here's Hunter Biden's letterhead being used for a draft letter to CFC Director Zhang. There you go, from the oversight. And look how it even nicely has a White House watermark on it. Isn't that so nice? Our Hunter Biden with his stupid freaking White House watermark. Gross. 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 Oh my God. I am Hunter Biden of the White House. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. No one talks about the fact that he's got this White House watermark. Why do you think he's got that? Give me one reason. What's he trying to say? And Joe's helping him sell that crap when he's going to these meetings. Rob Walker accountant Robinson Walker LLC received a $3 million payment from CFC entity until March 1st, 2017. The next day, he wired $1 million to Gillar, a Biden family associate, and then over the course of several months, wired incremental payments to the Bidens totaling around $1,065,000. Walker told investigators Hunter asked him to send incremental payments to various Biden accounts, including Haley Biden and James Biden, who were not affiliated with the CEFC deal. It's a Biden crime family. The Biden crime family. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it appears that on March 1st, 2017, according to bank records, the House Oversight Committee subpoena related to Robinson Walker LLC. On March 1st, 2017, State Energy HK Limited wired $3 million into your LLC, Robinson Walker LLC, correct? Correct. Then, and we have an image below, the next day on March 2nd of 2017, James Gillar and his company EIG. Hold on a second. I need to correct myself. I made a terrible, terrible gaffe earlier. I need to correct myself. That was not... I was wondering. I'm so confused. You know, I want to correct something. I'm going on record and saying this is like probably the worst foul up I've done. That was a terrible foul up. That is not his, that watermark of the White House is not, that's not on his letter. That's what they put on his letter. The Committee of Oversight and Accountability did. I withdraw that section of it. That was terrible. That was terrible job on my part. That's because I'm seeing this on all these pages here. So I'm apologizing. I was wrong. Withdrawn. That was terrible. That was terrible. So the watermark was not something Biden put on there. Make this a little bigger. Can make it even bigger. Still not any bigger. All right. I think we have charts. So within a week, money starts going to Hunter Biden. That's correct. You recall that? So, and then they start going through the numbers. And he says that's how he wanted it. All right, so that's how he wanted it. He wanted the money sent to him in this particular manner. That's correct. He's also one that requested the money that came in from State Energy HK to be sent to Hallie Biden as well. That's correct. Send it to Hallie. Send it all to Hallie. Sorry about that. During the Obama-Biden administration, Hunter Biden, Rob Walker, and James Gillar had a lucrative contract with Romanian businessman Gabriel Popoviciu, who was under investigation. Walker was unable to articulate what services the partners provided for $180,000 monthly from Popoviciu. The payments abruptly ended shortly after Joe Biden left the vice presidency. Oh, that's interesting. Accounted approximately 17 payments from Vladon Enterprises over to Robinson Walker. That's right. All of them except for one payment occurred while Vice President Joe Biden was in office. That's right. When he steps out of office, the payments stop. But Gabriel Popoviciu case continues. So why is it that you have all stopped getting paid the same time that Joe Biden stepped out of office? I don't know. Gabriel had the opportunity to stop payments, I believe, at any time in the contract. So just so I understand it, Popoviciu decided to stop making payments to you, Hunter Biden, and Gillar once Joe Biden left office. If you say so, I don't know that for certain. I don't have it in front of me, so I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Walker testified that he maintained close friendship with Hunter Biden since the Clinton administration. The friendship abruptly ended after Hunter Biden refused to pay a $50,000 loan from Walker. All right, that part's not really relevant. So there you go. So, yeah, if you ask me, there's a lot of reasons that Biden should be impeached. A lot of reasons he should be impeached, along with Mayorkas. They should go after him as hard as possible. Terrible human being. Walker is definitely boring, but earbuds and good audio books help. Lost Fleet series by Camel, King Killer Chronicles, and Dune series are good. All right. You wear your headphones and earbuds while walking. Things have changed, Boomer. Thanks. Late to the stream, yes, if anyone believes that he did this of his own accord, yes, he's in that position because he's inclined to do this. If otherwise, he would never have been nominated. They would have found someone else. They found Kathy Griffith or someone to do it. Why did he, Santos, have to go Biden lie about his background to get elected, and he's still lying? He lied stupidly. He did. He lied more stupidly than most congressmen. Biden did put on watermark. It's Joe's White House. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. I see what you're saying there. Let me check out here. Make sure I haven't missed anything because I really haven't looked here in a while. Damo says we had 3 no-call, no-shows on Tunnel Crew tonight. Can you come in? I would come in. I would come in, but I'm tired. I don't have the strength. I haven't been eating. I don't have the strength. And if I was supervising, what would that do? What would that do? Last week, I put in my time at the tunnels. Plenty of time at the tunnels last week. Okay. So I didn't expect to get sidetracked with that, but I'm glad I did because I think it's something everyone needs to know about his corruption and all the ugliness that is Joe Biden. So now I check that off. By the way, earlier tonight, if you joined late, I showed an actual clip of Joe Biden sitting around a dinner table with 3 black folk having their fried chicken in some sort of, I don't know, campaign to try and make black people feel he's really, really in touch and cares about them. There is an AI modification to that. There's an AI version, which I didn't find the original of it, but I saw this on someone else's clip. So I just want to pause because you should see the AI version. So you should see the AI.
So I made sure you
That's fine.
guys got your chicken, your orange soda, or Kool-Aid, if that's what you're into.
He got them the Kool-Aid.
Oh, I'm really sorry that Jill forgot the watermelon and hot sauce.
Oh my gosh. I don't know who did this. Oh my, I'm really sorry that Jill forgot the watermelon and hot sauce. Oh my God. That is so good.
Listen, I absolutely love the blacks, especially when you people vote for me and not Trump.
Bro, this can't be real.
That's not real. But oh my God, that's hilarious. I absolutely love the blacks, especially when you people vote for me and not Trump. I think there's more of it. Let's see. I don't want to steal all his work here. I'm not stealing it.
And people still vote for him. He went on Charlemagne's show.
I didn't want this. Come on. I think there is more. Is this the original?
Making sure I had a hamburger.
That is the original. I have to tell you, every time I watch this clip, I really want a hamburger so badly. I'm dying for a hamburger. Oh my God, send food. For the love of God, look into your heart. Send food. Oh my God. Well, anyhow, so I got that out of the way. Took care of you. Oh, I know I wanted to. Foreign aid. So the Senate decided to pass foreign aid bill where they're sending $60 billion to Ukraine, $14 billion to Israel, $11 billion to Taiwan. And here's the last great hope we have. The last great hope. Last great hope we have. Senator Mike Johnson says he will not put the $95 billion Ukraine-Israel aid bill on the floor while Democrats vow to use all options to try and force a vote on the massive package. I certainly don't plan on it, he told reporters Tuesday. Right now, we're dealing with the appropriations process. The $95 billion aid package included funding for Ukraine, Israel, Gaza, and Taiwan, and passed Senate Tuesday morning. Speaker Mike Johnson said he will not be putting the Senate's national security aid bill on the House floor hours after the Senate spent all night pushing the bill through its chambers. I certainly don't plan on it, he told reporters Tuesday. Right now, we're dealing with the appropriations process. We have immediate deadlines upon us, and that's where the attention of the House is in the House in this moment. The $95 billion aid package included funding for Ukraine, Israel, Gaza, and Taiwan. The immigration provisions were stripped out entirely after conservatives insisted they did not go far enough to secure the southern border. Without Johnson's approval, there's now talk of forcing the deal to the floor by arcane discharge petition that required 218 members to sign on to a demand to force legislation to the floor. So you can get 218 people to vote to send it to the floor, and that would theoretically force his hand. All options on the table are going to use every available legislative tool. Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries told reporters there are more than 300 bipartisan votes to pass the foreign aid bill, he claimed. That's horrifying. Horrifying. It passed the Senate Tuesday morning after a rare all-night session ending in a 70-29 vote. In total, the package includes $61 billion for Ukraine, $14 billion for Israel in its war against Hamas, $4.83 billion to support partners in the Indo-Pacific, including Taiwan, to deter aggression by China. It also provides $9.15 billion in humanitarian assistance to civilians in Gaza. I never want this bill to see the light of day in the House. I never want it to see the light of day in the House. I mean, we shouldn't be sending foreign aid. We shouldn't. There's absolutely there's no excuse to be sending foreign aid. There isn't. It makes no sense. President Biden on Tuesday implored I want you to just think about what's happening here. Think about what's happening here. Okay. So they failed to pass the southern border bill, which had this foreign aid baked into it. They tried calling it the southern border bill, and they realized that there was a whole big outcry. Why are we sending all this freaking money to foreign countries when we can't even close the southern border? When that dies, they say, oh, okay, so let's just do the foreign aid part of it. What? What does that even mean? Why is that happening? Why is this even a discussion? Senator Rand Paul stood up against it on the floor of the House, on the floor of the Senate the other day. And one person who I'm very, very bitter at is Senator John Kennedy, who signed off on this bill. Senator John Kennedy, for all the great clips and all the wonderfulness where he's, grilling people and embarrassing them, what the hell is happening? What the hell is happening here? What's going on, Johnny? What's going on? You want to know one senator who voted against it? Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders voted against it. So explain to me how it is that Bernie Sanders has more of an America First perspective than John Kennedy. Explain to me the world we're living in, because I know that you guys look to me to explain this world to you, and this is one I cannot explain. I cannot explain why it is that when it comes to foreign aid, Senator Bernie Sanders is more America First than John Kennedy. I can't explain it. I cannot explain this. I have no answers. I have no words. And it really could be this. It could be simply that it's not America First. It's just that he has such utter hatred for Israel that he's like, no, I'm not signing up on anything that's giving Israel money. That's very likely the answer. That it's not he cares about America. But if they stripped out Israel from it, he would vote for it. But yeah, I don't know what the hell John Kennedy was thinking. I don't know what the hell he's thinking. So, anyhow, Even Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell urged Johnson to allow the bill to come to the House floor. You want to know why? Because he got paid the last time the Ukraine bill passed. He got paid. He got like $2 million out of that thing. Oh, we've heard all kinds of rumors about whether the House supports Ukraine or doesn't. Seems to me that the easiest way to solve that would be to vote. So McConnell told Politico. That guy, a schmuck, can't stand Mitch McConnell. Where was it? I saw this article like a year ago that was basically showing how many people had gotten paid off by Sam Bankman-Fried, and Mitch McConnell got like $1.5 million to $2 million himself. And where did Sam Bankman-Fried get a ton of his money from? Oh, I don't know, major investor called Ukraine. So Ukraine basically, and that's the spin cycle of money in Washington. That's why they're all sending it to Ukraine, because they know that they'll get their kickbacks. They know their kickbacks are coming. So disturbing, so gross. After Mike Johnson objected to the immigration provisions in the deal, senators focused on passing without them. But Johnson then insisted he had wanted border measures, just not the immigration reform they'd offered. He called the deal insufficient without border security measures in a late-night statement saying the Senate has failed to meet the moment. Now, in the absence of having received any single border policy change from the Senate, the House will have to continue to work its own on these important matters, Johnson continued. America deserves better than the Senate status quo. But Johnson has not scheduled another standalone Israel aid bill that failed last week. We knew this would happen. Bob Good, Virginia chair of the right-wing Freedom Caucus, told reporters we knew the Senate would send it back without the pretend border security. We shouldn't borrow $100 billion from our kids or grandkids and send it overseas. It's got Hamas support, and essentially with money going to Gaza. Israel support, which has near unanimous support amongst Republicans, shouldn't be held hostage to these other countries. That would be something, at least. That would be something. Why is it that we have to borrow money? We don't get aid from people. We have to borrow money. That would be something. I like that perspective. As someone who's been fasting for 5 years, please Google fat fasting, the fasting method with Dr. Jason Fung. There are ways to make fasting painless. I lost 150 pounds, reversed type 2 diabetes. Really? Look, I don't need to lose anything like 150 pounds. Don't get me wrong. Thank God. Thank God. I'm not in that type of situation. And you're right, Tara. I think you're correct in that. I'm not in anywhere that type of situation. I just don't like the size of my waist. But like I can lose like 20. I'd be happy to lose 20. That'd be good. In an ideal scenario, I weighed in at 210. So yeah. If I was down in the 180s, I'd be happy. I'd be happy with that. But really is I want to lose like about 4 inches off my waist. That's the goal. That is the goal. By summertime, by my birthday, I want to have lost 4 inches from my waist. So, where was I at? Okay. This is what I want to cover next. I promise I had something. I have in stories of the weird. Check out this story. Before I get the last thing I want to cover was I wanted to cover Trump. Oh, and Harvard. Ooh, Trump or Harvard, Trump or Harvard. Well, before I get to either of them, this is what I want to cover now. New Florida man Dylan Brewer is arrested after vandalizing the street by doing burnouts on an LGBTQ flag mural in the middle of the road. The 19-year-old drove his truck with a flag hanging out of the back over the street on February 4th. Police are claiming that Brewer caused significant damage to the streetscape painting, which serves as a symbol of unity and inclusivity for the LGBTQ community. Brewer posted $5,250 bond for felony criminal mischief and reckless driving in Palm Beach County. Here's a crazy thought. Don't paint the street if you're going to be offended when people drive on it. Let's check it out. I think it looks better. I think it looks better. Am I crazy? No, don't get me wrong. He does look like he's like Aryan Youth. I mean, there's just an anger that's built into that face. But that being said, that being said, yeah, I don't really. So first of all, I want to be clear here. If we look at this painting, if we look at this mural that's here, it doesn't seem like there's any words on it. It's just colorfully painted sidewalk, street, right? I mean, that's what we're seeing here. It's just colorfully painted streets. So I'm not sure why anyone would assume that this has anything to do with any sort of alphabet letters or anything like that. It's just colorfully painted street. And I think he enhanced the mural. So I don't know how this is criminal mischief. I think he made it look infinitely better. It seems as if there was a black stripe along it beforehand also, which I think that too enhances the mural. So I'm not sure how this is criminal mischief. Maybe one of you can walk me through it because I don't understand. Where's the criminal mischief? It's not like there's any words on there. And it is a street. You kind of expect people to drive on the street. Kind of expect that. I don't know. If you have thoughts on this, I'd be curious. Do you think this should be a crime, what he did here? Do you think that's a crime? You can drop a comment down below. While you're there, make sure that you're still subscribed because a lot of you have been unsubscribed. And if you can hit the like button, that would be awesome. That'd be awesome. Very based move. Hitting the like button is a very, very, very based move. It is. Very underrated, the baseness. Very underrated. I'm talking to you Rumble folk also because I haven't looked yet, but I'm pretty sure I'm not in triple digits yet. Pretty sure I'm not in triple digits. I'm about to look now, even though there's 500 of you watching over there. 94. All right. It's a little better. We're getting a little better. I'm getting better at it. Senator Kennedy was sad to see. YouTube just turned my like off right before my eyes. I had to click it again. I hate YouTube. Yeah, there you go. There you go. You suck, YouTube. You suck. Idiots. Normal wear and tear for the street. It does seem like normal wear and tear. It does. I think it looks better. I think it's a vast improvement. Why are there no black stripes in there? You had 2 black stripes across it. Perfect. 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 Amazing. Anyway, I saw that and I was like, oh, that's an interesting thought.
There can.
That's not what I wanted. Got this. Got this. All right. All right. And that should not be taken lightly. You know, I see all these videos I get of like someone who like takes a white canvas and a can of paint and they hang it from some sort of long string or something like that, and they hit the paint and it's dripping out paint back and forth, and it's like, ooh, look at the art, pretty colors, ooh, wow, such great art, you're such an artist, oh, you're such an artist. I think that was artwork there, gas-powered art, beautiful, thing of beauty. Another dire poll for Biden. We should check out this dire poll for Biden before we finish up talking about Trump. Oh man, I forgot Harvard. I keep talking about Harvard. I wanted to cover Harvard. All right. Well, Trump filed with SCOTUS, okay, for immunity. That's it. He filed with SCOTUS. I'm not going through his filing. Okay. I'm not going to go through his filing because if I go through his filing, I feel like I'm talking to myself. That's what happens. When I go through long filings, I feel like I'm talking to myself. And I know that I'm not talking to myself. I know there's 1,000 of you. There's 1,500 people watching me right now between the two platforms. More than that. I get it. But when I go through lengthy filings, I start feeling lonely and afraid and scared. The room gets much colder. It's like it drops down like 12 degrees, and I just start feeling like I need to crawl into a fetal position. It's very, very lonely, and I miss you guys. So I'm on strike temporarily in my own brain from reading filings, because I miss you too much. I miss you too much when I go through filings. But I do want to share with you this. So I'm just going to share with you the news that Trump filed a petition for certiorari with the Supreme Court about the loss that he had in the DC Circuit Court, where he said that a president cannot be criminally charged unless they have been convicted, impeached and convicted by the Senate for that action. And he said, since I was exonerated, not convicted by the Senate on these actions, I cannot be impeached for any actions I take in my capacity as president. The DC Circuit Court, and a decision written by Judge Pan, who hasn't seen anything that Trump has ever done without her stomach turning into like wretched twisting knots, said, I disagree with you, Trump. And that, sure, why would there be a presidential immunity? Whoever heard of presidential immunity? Sure, that's how the world has operated, and this country's operated for the last 240 years. But there's no such thing as presidential immunity, or at least presidential immunity. If there is such a thing, what it extends to, God only knows. And so he applied for cert to the Supreme Court. So we'll see if they grant it. We have to see first whether they accept it. So I believe the Supreme Court responded by asking the state to give their position as, do they want to come to the Supreme Court? Because there's also a pending application for it to be reviewed en banc. En banc is when the entire DC Circuit Court would sit and judge on it, as opposed to a panel of three, which is at the first initial review from the appellate court. It's a panel of three, and it was a unanimous decision by those three. En banc means that all the members of the DC Circuit Court would vote and issue a decision. So they want to know basically what Jack Smith's position is. Last time when Jack Smith tried foregoing the appellate court altogether and going straight to Supreme Court, from trial court straight to Supreme Court, so the Supreme Court asked Trump what he wants. Do you want to come straight to Supreme Court or not? And he's like, no, let's let this play out. Now that he lost the appellate level, he doesn't seem to really want the en banc decision. The en banc decision, it's questionable whether there'll be any dissent. So you can understand why he would say, I don't really want that. Certiorari, I did say it. Certiorari. Everyone loves saying granting cert. Granting cert. But it's certiorari. All right. So that's what's going on in the world of Trump. In the world of Biden, though, some of the polls that are coming out from him are kind of scaring the Democrats a little bit. Another dire poll. Biden for elderly and diminished Joe. More than half Americans think Biden got special treatment in the classified documents probe, and almost 80% think he is too old to work in government. 53% of Americans believe Joe Biden got special treatment. New polling showed that 46% of Americans were at least somewhat familiar with special counsel Robert Hur's report, which noted Biden's poor memory. The survey also found 78% of respondents say Biden at 81 was too old to work in government, with 53% saying the same ex-president Donald Trump. Half Americans think President Joe Biden got special treatment when federal prosecutors decided last week they would not prosecute him for allegedly mishandling classified documents, according to a new Reuters Ipsos poll. 53% of respondents, including 29% of Democrats in the 4-day poll, which closed on Monday, agree with the statement that Biden received special treatment because he is the U.S. president. So more than a quarter of Democrats, almost a third of them, recognize he got special treatment. About half, or 46% of respondents, said they were at least somewhat familiar with U.S. Special Counsel Robert Hur's comments. that prosecuting Biden would be tough because Biden, anyone could present to himself as a jury as sympathetic, well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. I don't really know what's going on. Biden has blasted her as reports suggested the president was suffering memory lapses. The poll results underscore potentially critical vulnerabilities for Biden as he seeks re-election with some 78% of response in the poll, including 71% of Democrats saying Biden, already the oldest person to ever occupy the office, is too old to work in government. 71% of Democrats, 71% of Democrats saying he's too old to work in government. Wow. That, to me, in this article, is the most astonishing number here. 7 out of 10 Democrats saying Biden's too old. He's too old. That's a very, very positive thing for Trump. That's very positive. Very positive. Trump, his likely opponent, is 77, suffers less from voter skepticism with his age, also because he doesn't seem infirm, incapacitated, and that he can form sentences. Only 53% of respondents considered Trump, who was considered 2017, 2021 to be too old for government work. I bet it's much, much lower percentage of Republicans. See, when they say 53% of respondents, you have to realize that 53% of respondents probably means 75% of Democrats and like 15% Republicans. That's likely what that means. 25% Republicans. So, poll also points to potential room for Trump to undercut Biden's campaign strategy, call attention to Trump's myriad of legal problems. Trump is facing 4 criminal indictments that claims innocence on all counts and argue the government's failure to prosecute Biden is evidence the justice system is trying to derail his presidential run. 64% of respondents, including 50% of Democrats, consider it believable that Biden took the information illegally. Half of them believe that he took the information illegally. Wow. This poll only had a margin of error about 3 percentage points. All right. So there you go. That's great news for Trump. Great news for Trump. Awesome news for Trump. Breck Nichols, What's Heart? Miller's Crossing. One of the best movies ever. Great job. Great call by you. Look into your heart, Tommy. Look into your heart. It is a great movie. Miller's Crossing. That was what I was doing. I was mimicking John Turturro from Miller's Crossing, and yeah, that was a great scene in a great movie. I don't think this is correct. Trump did not want on. It's not. It's actually spelled en banc. En new word BANC. En banc, as it would have started the clock in the case. DC appellate forced that in their decision. My recollection from looking at the decision is that if it would have gone either place, that it would be on hold. That was my recollection. Now you have me curious whether I'm mistaken about that, but I don't think I'm mistaken. All right. Do I have time to talk about Harvard? Because Harvard got a win today. This might depress some of you, but Harvard got a win today in court. Yeah, big win. It's a crazy case. It's a crazy case involving corpses and selling of body parts. And some disturbing imagery and disturbing looking folks. All right. Let's see how far we got. Good night, Long Black Train. Oh, I missed this. Stephen asks, could Could beginning Biden impeachment hearings in July force the Dems to run Biden for fear of making him look guilty if they replace him? If they replace him, they're going to say that he's too old and infirm. They're going to say or they won't say he's too old and infirm. They'll say that he's got some sort of illness that he's dealing with and that he's not up to running. So I don't think that they're going to make some excuse. And it's almost certainly going to be a health related excuse. So yeah. They're not going to feel forced. And they also know he's not going to be replaced. They know that any impeachment of Biden, that the Senate will hold strong in protecting him. So, and not removing him. So I don't think that would play in. I'm mistaken. Oh gosh. Now you make me feel like I need to look this up. All right, I'm going to cover the Harvard body parts thing tomorrow on Locals. That's the plan. I'll do that tomorrow on Locals. I'll do the Harvard body parts on Locals. Now I gotta find the appellate court decision. Thanks. Did I save this? I might have saved this already. I might have this saved. No. Let's see it here. Now I need to find this. Thought that I would find it by Supreme Court. In Clark, Supreme Court. No. It's not going to be it. I'm trying to find, in case you're wondering, I'm trying to find the language where they talk about how long this is pending for. Maybe I should look up stayed. That's what I'm trying to find. That didn't work. Yeah, I'm not finding it here. I was trying to find where the duration of it being of the stay being in effect. I mean, currently the case has stayed. They gave the appellate court gave Trump a deadline to file an appeal, and let's see if Bonk is in here. Let's see on Bonk here. Yeah, so they gave him a deadline saying that this case is not going to return to the calendar unless, provided that he files an appeal on or before February, whatever, 13th, 14th, and pending the decision of the Supreme Court as to whether or not to grant certiorari. So I believe that there was also pending granting of an en banc from the D.C. Circuit Court of an en banc hearing. I'm not finding it now, so I'm feeling very out of sorts. Fan says we need driver tunnels tonight in tunnels. Would ask Joe, but his wife is better for the job. That's definitely true. Joe, how much snow did you get as your neighbor to this light west? I got 1 foot. Yeah, we got roughly a foot over here. I think maybe a little less, but so one of the most awesome snowmen today. Really good snowman. One of the best snowmen I've ever seen in my life. I'm having an issue here with this. I apologize. I had one last thing I wanted to share with you. All right. Oh, I know what I wanted to tell you. I want to remind you that on Thursday, I am going to be covering the hearing as to whether that was brought by Michael Roman and Donald Trump to have Fanny Willis and Nathan Wade removed from the case based on their purported bias. That will be on Thursday morning. So tomorrow on Locals, I plan on going over the Harvard case. That's at goodlogic.locals.com. Thursday, I'm going to be streaming all day covering the hearing. It's supposed to be a 2-day hearing. Trump is supposed to be in the House. He'll be sitting there in the courtroom. And I will be live streaming, sharing with you. This is the first time, I believe, that we can live stream Trump in court, in a criminal proceeding. First time in history that we'll see a former president sitting in a criminal court where his case is pending as the evidentiary hearing is being conducted, wherein he and his co-defendants are trying to have the district attorney removed based on her illicit handling relationship with Nathan Wade, self-dealing, and issues with respect to her alleged improprieties, naming her lover as a special prosecutor in the case, and self-dealing, looking out for her own financial interests, trying to stuff the wallet of her boyfriend. So the court said they're going to be analyzing, taking testimony as to what is the nature of your relationship? When did this relationship begin? Was it before or after he was hired as special prosecutor? What type of payments did Nathan Wade receive? Were they in excess of other people? Were they in excess of what he should have been getting here? Were they inappropriate attempts by Fanny Willis to enrich herself via giving money to her own boyfriend? That will commence on Thursday. I urge you, if you want to get notice about it, don't rely on YouTube. Sign up on Locals at goodlogic.locals.com. Goodlogic.locals.com. Certainly don't want to look for notices on Rumble because, oh my gosh, who the heck knows? So, whether in Rumble, whether in Locals, like, share, subscribe this stream, and make sure Rumble, YouTube, wherever you are, like, share, subscribe. Check out goodlogic.locals.com. I'm going to kick you over to my good friend Nick Ricato, who's going to be covering the Carano versus Disney lawsuit. You're going to want to see his take on it. Till tomorrow, thank you all on Locals. I thank you all for joining me. I'm landing my plane relatively quickly. Make sure you stay happy, eat some bugs, and as always, my friends, I say to you, Godspeed.